FBG Live. The truth can be hard to swallow.
Gather round everyone and let me tell you a tale of a time when our people just didn't kill each other. Instead they gave with all that they had to give. Made sure that their brothers and sisters were clothed and fed. Praise the Mother Earth.
Okay. Well, it's another Sunday night. And you're listening to the Republic of Texas Radio. I'm your host, Steve OBrien. It's Sunday, June 28th. And we've got a kind of a little bit different show for the night. Lots and lots of stuff is in motion. You know, wow, I can't just tell you all the different things because, well, of course, I'm not privy to a lot of that information, but I have been kind of like talking to people, asking them what's going on and why the holdup, and I actually ramped back my production due to some, glitches in the system and the way things are panning out. Well, okay, let me explain to you a little bit about that. You see, a couple weeks ago, actually, since we started this whole thing, we've been talking about this international angle that the Republic of Texas was heading down. And this international angle involves, reaching out to the international community and saying, hey, man, look, we don't want to be part of the United States anymore. We've been here. We are here. We have a government. It's a fully functioning elected government. It's a republic. It first came together in 2005. Actually, there was a few fake starts or, false starts, including the Jim McLaren start in the 90s. This has no affiliation. Some people may have crossed over from there, and you can look at our archives. Actually, we have a new domain that you can go to look at our archives, and I've been busy cutting up audio clips of the important people, not just the Talking Steve. And I have a few of those guys up there right now, and I continue to go through our archives and, peel them out. But if you go to rtradio.org, that's courtesy of our webmaster, Tom O'Halloran, that'll bring you right to the RT Radio webpage. Click on the elected and appointed officials, and you'll be able to get, the first few people that I've actually cut up or cut out of the archives and listen to what they have to say. And they'll tell you a little bit about the old days, the old days of RT and how it formed and came together. The Republic of Texas is an elected government. It's not an appointed government. It's not a democracy. There may be some democratic components within it. That's what they call elections. But this whole idea of a democracy is trouble. Trouble is, when I was, remember Egypt? Remember how those Egyptians, cast out their dictator and everything was good and praise that, and they're installing a whole new democracy. I remember watching on Al Jazeera or Russia Today, one of those two, and, this guy goes, I don't want a democracy. I want a representative republic. He says, I want a bottoms-up government. And I said, yeah. He didn't get what he wanted. And that's one of the things that worries me. If you separate Texas from the United States, what's going to happen to it? Right? Is it going to go back to some kind of, democracy? We got a lot of problems with our democracy currently, and we're going to go into those right now. Part of our problems are coming from the, corporate-owned media, right? Last week there was a big stink on all sorts of things, right? And they were rabble-rousing. They were going around telling you the Confederate flag is, evil, and let's burn that sucker, right? It's all about slavery. Look at the flag. It's like, man, we've been dealing with what you call the Confederate flag, which it really isn't the Confederate flag. It was the Virginia battle flag from what I know, and it was adopted as the battle flag of the Confederate States. Now, people are going out on the Internet talking about slavery and how, it was the main cause of the Confederate and the Northern War, the Civil War. And, if you still just believe that slavery the only thing. You just need to look a little bit further. There was slavery. There was slavery in the North. There was slavery in the South. There was slavery in Texas. One of the things that happened in 2005 when the government reconvened, they had to go through the Constitution of Texas and remove some of those, those less positive points. Like, nobody in the Republic of Texas wants slavery. We're not slavers. We don't care. We're just people. We want to be racist? No. White supremacists? No. Look, people are people. That's the important thing. But the government, the U.S. government and the corporate-owned, media out there, the CNNs, the MSNBC, is going to give you this narrative. And the narrative is, well, all the southern states still fly the Confederate flag because they're racist, and they call you racist for everything. I think that I saw some interesting movement on the Republic of Texas's international push, and I'm pretty sure that it's a retaliatory type. A retaliatory type knee-jerk reaction. So here's and they're trying to set the narrative, and let me just get started. Back in March, March 20th, there's a guy named, what was his name again? Nathan Smith. He's from the Texas National Movement. Now, the Texas National Movement is, working towards free Texas. Go, guys. I love the idea. What I don't know is what kind of government they're planning on setting up, if they're planning on setting up where they're at, where we're at. I know where we're at. I don't know where they're at, and that doesn't matter either. So he flies over to Russia, and they're having a little bit of a shindig of people that are going against globalists, right? Because there's a lot of globalist problems going on. A little bit about those. We're going to have to touch on them because the occupied territory that we live in, occupied Texas, the United States. Do you think any other parts of the United States are occupied? I know Texas is, right? And Texas was a nation. Hawaii was a nation, and whatnot. And then we can talk about California, and we can do whatever we want. But the fact is, this guy, Nathan Smith, he goes over there and he starts telling people Texas needs to be free, and he gets this nice interview, right? And he hits the numbers just wonderfully. I'm going to get you this link. I'll go ahead and post it up on the Blog Talk Radio comment area, and as well as in the Spreaker thing. I had to use Google Translate to actually get it. But now, that's one story in itself, right? Nathan goes to Russia. Okay, I got it. That's awesome. I totally like it. I would love to be there myself. But, of course, I didn't go. Nathan went. And he represented Texas independence well. I liked it. The funny thing, the point that I want to get to here is, why now? Why Sunday, June 28th? Is this a popular topic? Because that happened back in March. Okay, it takes a long time for the newspapers to do this. And what do they do with it? They say things like, Putin is pushing for Texas independence. I'm going, really? He hasn't contacted me. He hasn't contacted anybody that I know. Huh. Oh, that's cute. Maybe him and Nathan, hung out and said, hey, we want to free Texas. You think that went down? Oh, I don't know. He was in Russia, and maybe it did. The United States is big into that tactic, and I guess I can understand how the newspapers decide to play that angle with the story, because the United States likes to go over to countries they don't like and promote them. They give them money, they give them arms, they do everything, right? Hey man, we got some training camps, and we'll set you up, we'll hook you up, AKs and everything you need, right? Well, they were actually the Mujahideen previously, and now they have the new super group, right? Okay, well, screw them. Anyways, this is the common practice. My thing is, like, why are y'all talking about Nathan's trip back in March here in June? Now, there's this little bit of chatter out on the interwebs and, and wherever the heck it's going on, and I've heard a little bit about it, that there are Russian submarines, and they're like lurking on the coast, and they're here to support Texas. I'm going like, really? I don't know about that. I have heard about Russians, increasing their training around the Americas. I mean, the Americas, the corporate United States, is in everybody's business. That's one of the reasons Texas needs to be free. It's because we're violent people by nature. We believe in, taking care of ourselves, doing what's right. We have what it takes. Nathan actually outlines that beautifully. Man, love the guy for, represents Texas. That was just great. Texas has everything that it needs. We are a self-determined people. We are not allowed to be self-determined in this corporate United States structure. We have this weird facade of being a constitutionally driven society, and that was reflected this week while they were distracting everybody from the main point. We're talking about Confederate flags and slavery. One thing the corporate United States wants to do is keep you talking about race. They want to divide you. Boxes, Caucasian, black or whatever, Asian, Native, this and that and this, and there are so many dang check boxes in California, you get kind of confused checking them out, but whatever. So here's the deal. While we were all talking about, let's say, gay marriage, and I'm going to go there real quick, do you love somebody enough to enjoy having them be part of the government with you? You fall in love with somebody, and I have a problem with the government being involved in marriage at all. I mean, seriously, why are they involved? We can marry people, and what's the point? Well, the point of marrying people is because, hey, I love you, I want to be with you forever. But in case it goes bad, I'm going to sign up with these guys. That way, if it goes bad, then, I can take half of your stuff, or we can do an amicable split, and they'll be the mediator. Well, California does a little got you there. So if you're just a couple living together, they, after 10 years, they already think you're married, and they can still go after and take people's stuff and give it to the other person. But marriage is supposed to be a commitment between two individuals. And if you get a marriage license from the U.S. government, what is that saying? What is that actually saying? Most people just says now you can get insurance. Now, companies are forced to give insurance to you because legally, you get a job and then you get insurance from some corporation, and the corporation will now cover your spouse, the person you're married to. That's one of the gotchas, right? Everybody wants insurance. Everybody's mandated to have insurance in the corporate United States. And that kind of sucks, right? Because it's not free health care. Well, health care shouldn't be free. If somebody does something for you, you pay them. But everybody wants free stuff, and not everybody, but a lot of people want free stuff, and we're stuck with it. And I don't want too much on this thing. I don't care about gay marriage or regular marriage or anything like that. Get the government out of it. One of the beauties of the Republic of Texas is that's not one of their things, right? We don't care. I don't care. I do care that the U.S. government, the corporate U.S., is involved in it at all. I just have issues with that. I'm a self-determined person, right? I steer my own life, and I try, as much as I can, right? I've been branded with the Social Security number. It's kind of like what they say went on in World War II with the little IBM tags, except, instead of having it on my arm, I don't even have my own number, right? So my number, as soon as I die, is going to be given to somebody else, and he's going to be the new blah, 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 blah. And we all decide our Social Security number and this and that. And, man, it's tough. It's tough. But the big deal about the smoke and mirrors, the racism, the Confederate flag, and all that, when those kind of stinks go up, man, you go, what's happening in the background? Well, what happened? Well, the TPP came into near complete. They gave the president or the corporate president, corporate CEO, whatever you want to call him, the ability to fast-track things and do stuff. The TPP is actually in a coming-out stage of, coming out stage of its life. A few weeks ago, you were hard-pressed to find anybody that, knew what the TPP was. You could find a few people, and it's called the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and it includes a majority of countries, or not a majority, but a whole bunch of them. And I'm not going to get too much into it, because in all essence, you can't get too much into it. It's all a secret, and it's so dang important that they can't tell you. It's so incredibly important for the economy. The pundits know that it's the right thing to do. So the talking heads out there in the corporate United States will sit there and balk at things, right? They're going to sit there and go, well, there's a lot of misnomers about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and, we got to do something, and, this is a good thing for all of us. Most of the times I go out to the internet and I do some searches on news articles to try to find out what's going on. And I don't want to read too much of these guys' stuff because it's like poison in your head. Mind control is real. They repeat the same memes and stuff like that. And if you don't know anything about mind control, and, you can also call it marketing, then, there's a good movie out there on YouTube. It's called A Century of Self. It was written by the BBC. And they tell you how marketing came, and, go ahead. It's called A Century of Self. You can deal with it, and I'm going to go back to the TPP. Okay. So Forbes covered this one thing, and I just wanted to see what kind of an angle that they wanted to go. And one of the titles of their little article was, "The beneficiaries of the TPP and the free trade agreement are the poor." Yeah, maybe so. They're creating more poor, and they make my case throughout the article, right? Here, let me just quote this one little chunk, or at least say part of it. I take the global long view, said an urban planner and TPP supporter who came to a talk I gave last week in Greensboro, North Carolina, another former furniture-making region. He's right that globalization has fostered better living conditions in developing worlds, but improving the lives of Indonesian peasants willing to work for desperately low wages has nothing to do with decisions close to some 63,000 American factories that closed between 2001 and 2012. So what this guy was trying to do is tell you, the jobs went to Indonesia, and 63,300 American factories closed between 2001 and 2012. That's an 11-year span, but it doesn't have anything to do with all the jobs going all overseas. Okay, well, why did they close? How much did blue jeans cost in 2001? I believe it was $30 or $40. How much do you buy them for right now? $12, $14? Huh. Do you think the blue jean companies or whatever, and I'm just talking poor man blue jeans, because I know there's $100 blue jeans out there. There's less and less of them. There's more like $500 blue jeans, because the rich get richer and the middle class go away. And so when they say the beneficiaries of the TPP and the free trade agreements are the poor, they're creating the poor. Now, this is Republic of Texas Radio, and this is important information as we talk about the occupied territories of the United States of America and occupied Texas. This is going to be one of the most important things for the United States as it goes into this, Terrible agreement. Terrible agreement. I want to touch on this guy real quick because this guy goes, I take the global long view, said an urban planner and TPP supporter. What is an urban planner? You guys ever go down that rabbit trail? Because that's some crazy stuff. I'd suggest you go down to planning.org. They're part of the mass manipulation system. They call themselves the APA, or the American Planning Association, and they're making great communities happen. They do that through manipulations, taking land. They have guides on how they should take land instead of go through eminent domain, because eminent domain is just, man, it takes too much time. And, you know, the property owners are really kind of dicks. They want to be compensated. And if you go there, I recommend you look at a few different things to get the color of these folks. The American Planning Association, and why you should actually care, focuses on a certain aspect of all over America. They train the guy that works in the planning office, and they give him this association degree, right? And so he gets a professional, I'm a certified planner. That's great. Then you got these planners coming into your local government, right? And this is the world we live in right now, occupied Texas, occupied America. And they sit there and they whisper to the ears of the mayor and all the city council members their agenda. Their agenda is well stated over at planning.org. In fact, they have so many documents. There's a document over there called Takings, and it outlines how, well, you really shouldn't eminent domain. If you need something, you should take it. And it outlines strategies, and they're going forward with it, and they're doing really, really good. They've got some, proponents, but hey, screw them. I really would recommend, if you want to do some study on some nefarious individuals, they look beautiful, right? They're going to plan for, green zones and make everything wonderful and manipulate the press. They'll sit there and send them articles and news stories with a particular twist and slant, because newspapers and TV networks don't have a lot of money anymore. All they get their money from is Viagra salesmen and all these other pharmaceutical sales things. So, well, you just sit there, and I'm with planning.org, and I have this thing about how you should make your city green. And I had a whole bunch of experts come together, and here's your plan. Okay, done with planning, done with, the TPP. We are far from done with the TPP. But at least for tonight, I won't be talking about that anymore, just because we do have some other things that I want to get through. Because we have to keep our eye on the world around us as we go forward. The international event is going on, and I should be able to get information, well, maybe as soon as midweek. I also had to had to ask Doc Kroupa to stand out for the evening. His head's a little bit messed up because all that stuff that happened on Valentine's Day, on how he was trying to help Susie Kamek get recourse for her husband forging his signature, stealing a whole bunch of money, leaving her holding the bag. There's so many different violations that he did, and Susie was held with the bag. And then, I think it goes something like this. One mortgage company bought the ticket, which was illegal, and handed it to another and another, and there's no clear channel to tile, another and another and another, and then some mortgage company, is holding the ticket right now, and it's 9 years later. When are you guys going to come to terms with, first of all, you don't have the paperwork, you don't have the original signatures, she did not sign the dang document, the check that was cut didn't even have her signature when it was deposited in the bank. Now, so many illegal things just to start with. But it seemed to have snowballed on her. And, my co-host, he helped try to alleviate the pain. He's a really good guy, Dr. David Kroupa. And so he tried to alleviate the pain, and all of a sudden they gave him a lot of pain. And so he's in a little bit of shock. And we all go through a little bit of shock when different people, you try to help people, and somebody else comes up and hits you with a baseball bat. That's part of the world, folks. It's part of the world. There's some good people and there's some bad people. You can't believe that there's some bad people. Sometimes it's hard to get your mind around it. It's very hard. So that's an object that's in motion, and we'll be dealing with that on Tuesday. There's a court date for the arraignment of Dr. Kroupa, and this isn't a real court date. This isn't a common law court. This is a statutory law court. This is the law that's kind of fuzzy, right? It doesn't have to do with the facts. It has to do with precedent and evidence, and, it's really fluffy, and they argue precedent and case and this, and it's not about, let's go to the root of the whole case. Susie, did you sign the dang document? No. Can we disprove that? Yes. But it's not about that, because there's something else. Okay, Susie, did you get a hold of that check? Did you sign that? Did you deposit it in that check in that account? No. Okay, it's not about that either. No, it's about a whole bunch of other things and a whole bunch of statues and whatever. Man. So it's one of those fluffy courts that they can go any way you want. It seems like we like things fluffy and kind of confusing. Common law, probably a lot better, but other people sit there and tell me common law is not good. I'm not going to even go there. I'll tell you, statutory law is just terrible. The government courts are just terrible. Man, the way that they did this thing, which is kind of crazy, and I'll get off this subject really quick. I don't like talking about Doc Kroupa and Susie Kamek too much, right? There's kind of like, it's not good to be talking about it at this point when they're in the middle of having guys with baseball bats swinging. It's a proverbial baseball bats, but they do want to do them harm. And all they want, all Dave and Susie want to do is, well, let's get this taken care of. So, what is it? On the 19th of June, the state of Texas, the corporate state of Texas, and the incorporated Kerr County people, they typed up a couple pieces of paper saying, Susie and Doc, you need to come to our offices on, what is tomorrow? The 29th. And, you have a week to let us know if you want to actually come or not, or if you have a reason you can't show up. So this was on the 19th, and then, Susie's was mailed out, I think it was on like the 22nd, and she received it on the 24th, and there was absolutely no way. Doc, he got even less notice because he's on the 19th and sent out on the 25th, and he got his on a Saturday. So all of a sudden he's going along on Saturday, and bam, hey, yes, you're okay. I wasn't aware of a bomb. And then we're going to come hit you with baseball bats. No, they don't use baseball bats. They use tasers and guns and handcuffs and jail cells that are dual purpose, toilets and drinking facilities. And they have a bunch of people that are just been beaten, mean, ugly people that have been beaten by the system. Because the system's brutal. Okay, I'm done. We'll be covering that on Tuesday. We'll have the results and tell you what's going on. So it's going to be one of those special events. It happens at 10 o'clock in the morning over at the courthouse in Kerr County. If you're interested in coming, you can look look at the docket. There's 2 interesting shows going on. You can look for me. My name is Steve OBrien. You can call me by phone. It's 830-998-4381. You won't be able to reach me around 10 o'clock because I will be in one of the 2 courtrooms, and I want to hear what's going on. You don't leave people alone when these things are going on, and I need to be there. So I'm there. I got some other people that'll be showing up, and because we think that it's not just me, we think that it's important to at least, if all we can do is stand witness, then we do. I wish I was some kind of super lawyer. No, I don't. I want a bar card, a Bureau of Accredited Registry, or British Accredited Registry. Sorry, I got that wrong, folks. Statutory law, kind of a trip. Moving on. Oh God. I feel like I've been talking for hours, but this really, I can do that. How well, good. We got plenty of time. So the important things that are happening right now reflect in Europe. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this coming week. And so we might touch on that a little bit on Tuesday night when we do a special about the Susie Kamek and Doc Kroupa event. But yesterday, Greece started having bank runs. Now, why should we care here? Well, hey, bank runs are when one bank starts running, they all start running. This whole thing is falling behind. And so all of a sudden during the weekend, all the ATMs were actually emptied. I believe it was Saturday, right? I went to Reddit to try to see what the Greek people on Reddit were, and reddit.com. It's kind of a bunch of lol kids. If you don't know what a lol kid is, it's kind of like somebody that doesn't quite have a clue in the universe, but wants to talk about it. I don't know, a bunch of programmed people. And this person, over in Greece that's represented by a Greek flag, right, probably had an IP address from Greece, and that's how they, logged it. It says, no money left in ATMs in the town I live in. And the next person comes in, right, and he's Swedish. He's like, in that case, I would go out and buy petrol. And I'd buy imported products, and I'd get the most expensive stuff in that situation, buy Bitcoin, and do this and this and this. Man, people have great opinions. They have money and they're not in your shoes. And so this person goes back and says, I do not own a car. Lucky my job is only a 10-minute walk from my house. Wow, that sounds just like the global agenda of trying to get everybody to walk to work, no cars, no everything. I guess maybe they're ahead of the coin. Says, I don't have a job. I don't have a savings. I guess I'm a lucky woman. And the guy comes and he goes, hey, we still have a working economy over here in Switzerland. There are a lot of little kids talking about conditions out there for the world economy, and they'll tell you why a fiat-based currency is just wonderful, and I can't do that. They'll tell you why we can't go to a gold-backed currency, and I can't tell you that. I can't tell you anything really. I can bring some people on with a bunch of ideas. I can tell you that the first thing to do when trying to change the world is identify the problem. Well, I got a number one cause, and that would be the corporate United States of America. It's overreaching, intentions. It's pushing peace and love at the barrel of a gun, right? The truth is, they no longer represent we the people that they allegedly did at one time. They pretend to do that. They kill a lot of people every year, and, that's not good. And I don't know, how do you stand up against this kind of stuff? I guess that leads me into my next segue. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about that media control, right? What do we do with the media control? Well, what I say is you get ahead of it. So back in February, I wasn't really playing around with the Republic of Texas. You go through times where you're hot and heavy, and there's a lot of people that are hot and heavy right now, and a lot of people just sitting back and not doing everything. But as soon as I heard that, they're in the hot water, of course I stepped up and I went on my media campaign, right? The first thing that we do is let everybody know. So, and how you do that? Well, see, I've been doing this for a little bit, and I follow a lot of the alternate media networks, and I try to touch bases with people and just tell them, bump into them every once in a while, talk to them, keep an open line of communications. And one place out on the internet that's, really dear to my heart is Republic Broadcasting and John Statmiller. John Statmiller had a radio station and a broadcaster since, mid-'90s, right? He's had a couple different networks, right? He started with Republic International was his first network, and it turned into GCN, or you might know it as Genesis Communications Network, and now he has RBN, Republic Broadcasting, out of Austin, Texas. He used to have this one host on that I liked a lot. He was kind of fun, and, he had a lot of opinions, and, he can get sideways. But Jack's always been friendly with the Republic of Texas, and one of the first people to jump on our side as soon as this happened was Jack. I want to play you that clip, and in case you haven't heard it yet. Here, let's do that. Okay. Got to remember to turn the dial.
Howdy, Jack. How you doing?
Is that my? This is my Patriot father, John. I think.
Yeah. This is John Jarnicki with the Republic of Texas.
El Presidente, Mr.
Yes.
President, Mr.
Well,
President.
hey, it pays it pays a lot. So
Right, the president of Texas, and we're not goofing around. Listen, hold on. David in Montana, Kyle in Philly, Ray and Joy. Everybody just hold back for a second because I've been wanting to get John on the show. John's group, the Republic of Texas, was raided by 10 different federal and local agencies here this last Saturday, and all of their stuff taken. And I don't think he's really had a chance to plead his case the way I'd like to hear it. So, John, first of all, thanks for what you guys do. Appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you, Jack, and we appreciate your program and being on RBN, where we have a venue to get the word out, and we appreciate that.
Let's not get that confiscated. How is it going? Listen, you probably heard me on the air the last few days, John. I was suggesting that you and Sally, really just take this thing head on. Just get out and have a massive press conference and tell people, because people believe that the Republic of Texas wants to secede from Texas. They want the federal government to prove that Texas was legally annexed. And I think that the burden of proof lies on the federal government. I know it's a little late for that, but still, it's a major point.
Yes, it is.
Let me give you 5 minutes on the other side of this, and everybody, we're going to put you on in the second hour. Either hang on or call back. We've got to talk to John Jarnicki, man. These guys just got totally hosed, and I want to hear it. So stay with us. It's the Jack Blood Show.
What will you do without freedom? That's the question the American Freedom Party is asking as a high-tech surveillance state continues to be constructed in the one-time land of liberty. Through methodical gradualism over many years, the United States has been hollowed out economically and morally. The Republican Party is little more than a partner in crime to the open globalism and cultural Marxism of the Democrats. Both parties support the offshoring of American industry and jobs, open borders, endless wars of aggression all over the world, and slavish obedience to Israel and to the banksters and gangsters of Wall Street. The American Freedom Party is guided by the sole principle of supporting what's good for America and Americans. The American Freedom Party rejects the archaic liberal conservative paradigm in favor of an outspoken advocacy of freedom and liberty that rings true to America's traditional values and way of life. The hour is late, but America can yet survive and begin to thrive again if enough Americans act to regain their freedom. The alternative is too bleak to contemplate. Learn more about the American Freedom Party by going to AmericanFreedomPartyInfo.us. That's AmericanFreedomPartyInfo.us.
Whew, nice shooting. Hey, that's a sweet AK-47 chest rig. Is that multicam?
Yep, got it from StrikeHardGear.com.
Strike what?
StrikeHardGear.com.
That's your
Okay, well, I'm sorry I didn't cut out the commercials, right? I kind of like to leave some of the commercials in while I'm playing other people's clips, and I don't even know about a lot of these commercials, but they do sponsor Republic Broadcasting, and that's a good thing because, sponsoring and taking care of people that are trying to support freedom and liberty is important. I don't know anything about them. Well, maybe some of them, so I don't think this is Anyway, Republic of Texas commercial. I'll turn them down and try to talk over them while we're doing that. Well, this was one of the many conversations that Jack Blood did with John Jarnicki, and they talked about a lot of different things during the raid, and talked about Jack's strategies on how Jack thought that we should react to this thing. They talked about the numerous press releases that were going out during that time. I haven't seen a single press release since the whole, the whole issue with the Dr. David Kroupa, the justice from Harris County, since he's been indicted and all this other stuff, and I'd really be curious as to the Republic's position on that. Because one of the positions is that, he simulated court documents, and that's not true, because they were real documents. The Republic of Texas is real. Common law is real. Here comes Jack again. We're going to do the whole segment, and I'll talk during the commercials. How's that?
John Jarnicki is with us in the broadcast today. He's the president of the Republic of Texas. That's the government that should legally exist before Texas was annexed. His group was raided this last Saturday on Valentine's Day while they were having a pretty simple meeting by the FBI. I think the BATFE were the only ones that weren't there. Local authorities in Bryan, Texas, office in Texas, and the Rangers, the U.S. Marshals. Were they wearing masks, John? I know it's not funny, but
no, they were not wearing masks. No mask, no hood, but FBI had their flak jackets on.
They told the news what was going on. They told the news what was going on, John. They didn't tell you guys. So we began looking into it over the weekend, and we found out that one of your members had been fighting a illegal foreclosure case and had summoned the judge in the case, and they took that as, I guess, some kind of a threat to the judge. You remember when I told you? I thought that's what it was, and that's, I guess, what they're saying they did.
Yeah. They filed what happened is the lady representative from Kerr County filed the paperwork, and she couldn't do it on her own. She had to go to, and so her and it was named on work. The work was not shown until later on, after that, you would say. It was we on the table in the card room, or something else, and one of us happened to have her phone. She took a picture of the warrant and emailed it to her husband, and she got it just in time before they confiscated her phone.
They took your phones, they took your silver stash, they took your documents, and a bunch of other things, and barely gave you a receipt for any of it. Well, I got to ask you, after all the years of the Republic of Texas operating under the regime of Rick Bilderberg Perry, how do you like Greg Abbott? It's
well, Greg Abbott has made similar intimations that he was for Texas being independent again. The same as Rick Perry did. I mean, it all may be whitewash. I don't know. I would welcome the chance to speak with Greg Abbott in person on a one-on-one, and let's talk about it.
He should do that. These guys get elected and they get national coverage for saying that maybe Texas should secede. We just did a story earlier. Ron Paul says when the collapse comes, there is going to be a rash of secession. You guys are, again, talking about a legal situation where Texas was not properly annexed, just as the 16th Amendment was not properly ratified. I have a story on my site, Texians Under Attack, Republic of Texas raided by the JTTF in a trumped-up case, assets and papers are seized. Where do things stand now, John, and what can my listeners do to help?
Well, they have the officer from Kerr County who basically led the charge. He called me, let's see, yesterday.
John, we're going to be back in like 1 minute. Let me hold just for 2 more minutes until all the other callers stay on the line.
Okay, so we'll talk for a minute. Hey, what he said was there was a little bit of an interesting thing there. Jack asked what happened, and, well, there was a writ of mandamus and a writ of quo warranto issued towards the judge. Republic of Texas court. Now, I guess that's the details against the judge. Now, both of those documents, one said, show us what you got and let us know what's going on. Now, that came from a common law court, and people will argue that common law courts have any authority at all. Supreme Court has said that they do, but they don't act like it, right? And the statutory law courts don't deal with that. There was also a writ of, I guess the quo warranto is say, well, what do you got? Show it to me. And the other mandamus says, stop what you're doing right now and show me that you have jurisdiction. Now, there was also a subpoena issued for the person that worked for the bank, not for the bank, for the person. In persona, I believe, is the term. And so he was being summoned as an individual for, well, the long, nasty thing that he was dragging Susie Kamek for, and they took that a little personally. And I think Jack's coming back here in a minute. Here he is. I'm going out. Let's hear. Hang on.
We don't need your education. We don't need your thought control. We don't need your education. We don't need your thought control.
Jack Blood. 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 I'll be back.
Whoa, my God. We're in a lot of trouble.
Attention. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Remain calm. We will not tolerate civil disobedience. Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Jack Blood. Jack Blood. Jack Blood. Jack Blood. Jack Blood. Jack Blood. Jack Blood is next.
I'll show you politics in America. Here it is, right here. I think the puppet on the right shares my beliefs. I think the puppet on the left is more to my liking. Hey, wait a minute. There's one guy holding up both puppets. Shut up. Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control. Watch this against fat and stupid.
They say if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. But if you teach a man to fish, then he's got to get a fishing license, but he doesn't have any money. So he's going to get a job, and he has to get into the Social Security system and pay taxes.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. By the way, it's the same big club they used to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All along, beat your head in and tell you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy.
2, 1, 3. Cue announcer. And starring the mad prophet of the airways, wake up!
Thanks for waking up, and thanks for being with us today. You don't need to join us. This is not a program. It's a deprogram. We're hoping to help de-illusion you a little bit, get rid of some of your illusions, your controlled belief systems, and dogma. Second hour of the Jack Blood Show today. It is Friday, the 20th day of February 2015. Open mind, open lines, 800-313-9443. In the last hour, we had a call from John Jarnarchy. He is the president of the Republic of Texas. They have their own Senate, they have their own congressman, and their own government. They've taken this to really, I think, where a logical conclusion would be. And so here's the paradox is the last governor, Rick Perry, got a lot of national exposure for talking about secession and how great Texas was all on its own. Greg Abbott, the former attorney general, now governor, has also said some things that are similar to, again, appeal to people who love Texas for Texas and not as part of the United States. Yet these good people were raided by the very people we've been talking about this last Sunday. Their stuff was confiscated in what we call asset forfeiture. Not sure exactly where it stands, so John is going to give us a few minutes on that. John, where do things stand now? What do you guys? Where are you at? Are you going to get your stuff back? Is this going to go to, I hope, a level where people can begin understanding what you guys are doing in a nonviolent way?
Yes. I had gotten, as I said before the break, I'd gotten a call from the Sheriff's Department officer who basically led the raid, and he says, you can come pick up your checkbook. Well, my checkbook was in my briefcase that got confiscated, so I went down to the Sheriff's Department, Kerr County, expecting just to get my checkbook, but he gave me my whole briefcase plus the checkbook. He also at that time said that the gold and silver coinage that was confiscated, he asked if I would take that, and I said, no, I really won't, because it belongs to our vice president, Ed Brenham, and he lives all the way down in Victoria. I said, no, and he says...
Well, they can write you a receipt, John. You can get it back and give it to your VP, right? And
well, that's what it, that's what it amounts to, and I will be picking it up, with the receipt. Our vice president gave me a list of at least the money that was confiscated, and I will pick that up as soon as I can get together with McCoy.
John, are you guys the American Taliban?
Well, a lot of people seem to think so, I guess. But
you had a thing about 10 years ago where the former head of a group connected to yours had a standoff with the police. So a lot of people taking the side of the police on this one and taking the side of the federales. But it really shows. I think the point that you make here is that you're talking about your writ that you issued for Republic of Texas International Common Law Court. It was accused that this is a frivolous summons to the judge, who, by the way, was appointed by Rick Perry, this guy. Right. He called out what is, I guess you say, his militia to address the action. It was massive, overwhelming force. It was a dangerous, I think, response to something that was very simple, a paperwork on your part, and I think completely unnecessary. I mean, is there going to be any kind of accounting in Texas for this kind of use on everyday civilians?
Well, it's things that they are used to doing, and they're trained by the feds, so that's basically what happens there. I will say that all of the police officers and that were there, we did get treated with a basic respect, which surprised me.
Yeah.
I wasn't planning on that. A deputy from Brazos County who got my information, I asked him, I said, well, what the heck's going on? What's this all about? He says, I don't know. I was just told to be here. So they didn't even inform their other people that were a part of this raid as to what it was they were supposed to be doing. The warrant that was issued was for the representative and the judge, the Chief Justice of Harris County, that filled out the paperwork.
Yeah. Class A misdemeanor offense.
Right,
and
Class
Joint
A is what
Terrorism Task Force response to it. I don't see that, if there's gang violence or some gang somewhere or a bunch of drug dealers or cartels in Texas, I don't see that kind of response to them, just you guys.
No, right. Well, they're running scared that we might get something done, I believe, and I think that all the others were involved because they made it a fishing expedition to see what they could come up with. And
so Ken, what's his name? Ken Paxton is the new Attorney General there.
No, God, off the name or off the top of my head, I can't call the man's name.
Yeah, I think it's Ken Paxton. And that's what it says on the internet. I don't live there anymore. But their number is 512-463-2100. 512-463-2100. I think of nothing else that Texans or Americans should complain that this is a drain of resources and that they're putting the citizenry in danger by this kind of overwhelming response to what is, again, a Class A misdemeanor, if even against the law at all.
Correct. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head on that one, Jack. They could have did that search warrant to the representative from Kerr County at any time. They didn't have to come to our regularly scheduled meeting to do that. The common law court was scheduled to be tomorrow. So they somehow they got their wires crossed, and they ended up being a week early.
Yeah. You people in Fredericksburg or in Hill Country or in Kerr County and that part of Texas, San Antonio and Austin, these are good neighbors and good people. You have nothing to fear from them. But how about if the next time some misdemeanor on your part is misinterpreted and it's you? And what if somebody reaches for something at the wrong way and then they're murdered by these thugs? Then will you appreciate this situation? I think you should. John, last thing is, by the way, your website is thetexasrepublic.com. If people want to get involved and be part of the government that you've put together, I hope support you in some way or any way through this time, thetexasrepublic.com. But when I was there speaking at your event here last summer, John, you were telling me how the DHS is coming to town and taking over a good part of Fredericksburg, Texas. I don't know if that's connected to this.
Well, I don't know either, Jack. It may be in a roundabout way, but Homeland Security and that, they are taking over every public place that they can. Not that they have ownership of it, but they want to have control of it as to who actually is able to use it. And that's where that's coming from.
I also think that everybody out there in internet land, you folks have websites, you have your own radio shows. I think you need to get the news of this out. I think more Americans need to understand, what we're paying for, how that force is being used on good freedom-loving people around this country. So you can find my story. I just did the second press release on Techians Under Attack at headlinelive.info. People can copy that. There's a way they can get a hold of you and help amplify the case, because anybody, especially the Republicans, they should go look at it and say, hey, this is not. I'm sure they could find a way to blame Obama, John. I mean, why?
Well, I tell you what, I don't care what goes wrong, I blame Obama for it. Doesn't make a difference. But just as a sidebar, Jack, my daughter and her family live in Kerrville, and she's into all this Facebook thing. And somebody contacted her and says, hey, do you know who this is? She says, yeah, it's my dad. And the overwhelming response on this Facebook, at least coming from what she has seen, has been overwhelming in support of us. So that's good to hear.
Well, I can tell my listeners, John, I vouch for you guys 1,000%. As I've been saying on the show, I think you're some of the best people I've ever met in this movement that we have. And if we can't get your back, then what good are we? Is really the thing.
That was so sweet of Jack. That's Jack Blood, deadlinelive.info. That was recorded by Republic Broadcasting, republicbroadcasting.org, back when Jack Blood had a show on Republic Broadcasting. I guess that's happened a few times throughout time and history. Jack Blood was very instrumental in a few different times during the Republic of Texas's history. He was at the Washington on the Brazos conference. What do they call it? I forget what jamboree. The jamboree, and that one was pretty big deal, right? They had all sorts of people, and I forget the year that actually happened. And I hadn't gotten out of California at the time, so I didn't get to go there. Jack Blood also drove all the way from Atlanta to come to Fredericksburg to be here in 2014. To share his thoughts about Texas independence and, how it was important. Sweet man, good heart. DeadlineLive.info. Check him out. I really miss Jack. He's no longer on the satellite, and so it makes it a little hard for me to listen to him. Internet only is very hard, and I think that's really funny how I'm talking to you on the internet only, but I'm talking to whoever will listen. See, one of the biggest, most important things, I think Jack Blood hit right on the head, is there's a lot of people out there with radio shows, and, I talk to them. I know a lot of them, right? So events like this come down. I'm not some kind of media agent for the Republic of Texas. I happen to be an individual, a Texas citizen, if you will, right? And we can argue about that word citizen. But I'm a Texian. Okay, I get you there. I'm part of the Republic of Texas. I don't hold an office. I do that on purpose. I've got a lot going on for myself, just being, a talking head for the Republic of Texas because I believe in it. I believe in the form of government that the Republic of Texas stands for. I want to be out here telling you what's going on with the Republic of Texas. And right now, I'm I feel hampered, right? I feel kind of a little bit, that I don't have anything to tell you. And that kind of sucks. But I do know that something's coming up really quick. And, of course, we've got Susie and Duck's story, which we just covered right now. But sometimes it gets really hot out there, like the big old Joint Task Force raid on Valentine's Day. Then we had to go out there and contact all our different media people and say, hey, look, this is what's going on. And then you have to sit there and try to explain it to people. I have a little post that happened, 7 days after, not really a post. I went on to another show on Republic Broadcasting, and I wanted to air that one for you. Because realistically, folks, if you support Republic Broadcasting and you listen to alternate media shows or any kind of talk shows, your voice is important. You can get out there and you can make a difference. Getting out ahead of things is very important when an event starts coming down, and an event is about to start coming down this week. I truly believe that all this vilification or this focusing on the Texas Nationals while saying that the Republic, and a lot of these articles say that the Republic of Texas was disbanded in 1997, and they point back to the Jim McLaren story. There's been a few false starts, including the Jim McLaren false start, the false start that happened with Daniel Miller as the president of the Republic of Texas. But then the restart occurred in 2005, and it was fully formed by 2007. Now we actually have the 19th Congress. The 10th Congress was back in 1845. They shut it down. They didn't go to work. And, well, at least that's the story that we have. Nobody can prove that the 10th Congress actually ever got seated. So as the 10th Congress was reseated, and that was one of the main tenets of Richard McLaren's thoughts, and it seems to hold true. Can't find documentation that shows otherwise. But anyways, reelected all the entire government. We went through and we dealt with that racist crap, and we dealt with slavery, and we dealt with the inequality and, allowing people to, women to vote and women to hold office, because that's just silly. There was a lot of silly stuff that 1800s, and we know that. We know that it's hard to focus on history. And, man, let me tell you a little bit of station-keeping stuff. I still got you on next meeting at 9:30 a.m. Okay, this is going to be in Tomball, Texas again, and it's Saturday, July 11th. Now, you just go to VFW Post 2427. That's at 14408 Alice Road, Tomball. And you can find that information at thetexasrepublic.com. You know, there's a lot of good stuff over there. At some point, I'm going to get, maybe now is a good point, but I really want to try to get this clip going. I have a lot of problems with a lot of verbiage I read a lot of times. And on the front page of the TexasRepublic.com, I was incredibly pleased that I didn't have a lot of exceptions to this statement called the proclamation. And I'd go ahead and I'd try to read it to you, but I really think it's easier. You know, my wife tells me that it's better to just read it in your head. You absorb it better. And, well, maybe I'm not one of those kind of reader kind of guys. I don't know. Go to thetexasrepublic.com, read the proclamation. That's pretty much what we stand for. I don't really have any exceptions to it. Maybe I should reread it so I can find some. But I felt it was good. I felt it was really good. So, maybe I could take that as an exception. Maybe I don't have to be offended by everything. So let me get on with it. We won't be talking again. I'm going to play this clip on Farron Shope's show, thealternatemedia.com. Now, one of the first things that I did after this raid went down was I got over to my contact list and I contacted every broadcaster that I could. And I started pitching John. Right, say, talk to him, talk to him, talk to him, talk to him. And I went ahead and I pitched this to Farron. He said, no, I want to talk to you. Maybe we'll talk to him next. And he, you know, we ended up just doing a show, me and him, and then we bumped him over to Govern America the following week. But we go into production and all this, and I'm not giving you my strategy. This is just a no-brainer, folks. When you know these guys, you use them. It's important to them to take care of you, and this is news worth, talking about. I really hope we're going to be heading down that rabbit trail again in another couple of days. Could be tomorrow, actually. The phone should start ringing. Then they plan to tell me what the hell's going on. And I say, well, as long as you're telling me, I guess I'm good with it, because we've got this government, the corporate United States with their Trans-Pacific Partnership, and what are they doing? They're not telling me squat. They're just saying, well, we're making this agreement, and it's going to be good for the poor people. Really? Yeah. But what about us? What about these people that live within the corporate United States? What about how that planner guy said that he didn't care, he didn't think that it was responsible for losing how many? 63,300 American factories between 2001 and 2012. 63,300 American factories closed between 2001 and 2012. Is that a lot of factories? You think they had 2 people in them? 10 people, 100 people? Well, I know it's not globalism, Yeah, it is. I'm sorry. Farron Shope from Republic Broadcasting, thealternatemedia.com, one of the good guys. I'd recommend you listening to him. In Texas time, you could get up bright and early at 7 o'clock a.m. Go to republicbroadcasting.org. I know I'm sitting on the couch listening to this guy every morning, and sometimes painful to listen to, because Farron Shope at, thealternatemedia.org, man, he tells the truth, and the truth is kind of, well, it can be sad. I'm going to let you go and spin out on this one, and I'll say I love you right now, because we don't have much more time left after I play this clip.
We've got Steve OBrien on the line. Steve, how are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing just fine, sir. Thanks for having me on.
I'm glad you're coming up here in about 60 seconds, but don't worry about that. We're going to keep you on the line. But you had forwarded me some news stories last week. I haven't seen this hardly anywhere. The Republic of Texas group targeted by authorities. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you kind of just explain this, what is happening there. You're there on the ground, and when you hear the music, we'll take a break, we'll come back, and then we'll get into it a little bit more. So just go ahead and tell people what is going on there with the Republic of Texas and what has happened.
Well, let me tell you a little bit more about the silence, and we'll get into the story after the break. You can find information about the Republic of Texas raid out on the internet. If you do your normal searches through Google News, it's kind of like
we've got the music. You just hold that thought. We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to The Alternative, joined by Steve OBrien, FBG Live.
Your money. What is it worth today? A $100 bill in 1913 is worth only $2 today. So now your money is just about worthless, and the Fed will continue printing more and more of it. But what if you could turn it around, $1 at a time, and make your money worth more than it is now? How? By acquiring gold before your paper money is totally worthless. But how can you afford gold at today's prices? By buying it 1 gram at a time. And this is so important because gold is the future. For as little as $65, you can begin trading your almost worthless currency for something real, something you can hold. Carat bars, which keep their value, can be stored securely and are easily accessible, just like a savings account, but a savings account backed by your gold. Carat Bars International, a savings account you can count on. For more information, please click on the Carat Bars banner ad at republicbroadcasting.org. Again, that's the Carat Bars banner ad at republicbroadcasting.org. And start saving now.
The IRS is a private corporation, not a government agency. Income tax is collected by voluntary compliance. To learn to unvolunteer or discontinue volunteering into the IRS, visit escapeharassment.com and immediately implement Strategy 1. The process must be repeated each and every time. Paper, letter, envelope, presentment, etc. Always and forever. Failure equates to acceptance. Subsequent results in contract, and you pay or go to jail by your own consent and agreement contract. Avoid recontracting. Visit escapeharassment.com and implement Strategy 1 immediately. Bar lawyers and accountants won't help you. Why wait? Get Strategy 1 and immediately implement it to divorce the IRS today and forever. That's escapeharassment.com, Strategy 1, to be free from the IRS. escapeharassment.com.
With autumn in the air, it's time to think about getting ready for winter. And it's time to save at herbalhealer.com. You'll find amazing seasonal savings to prepare you for the fight against cold and flu season, like oregacillin to promote lung health. 30 capsules regularly. The natural antiviral, normally $16.95, now 60 capsules are just $12. HHA Elderberry Power, a great flu and virus fighter, regularly $16.95, 60 capsules now $10. Save on all our homeopathic detoxes. Choose from lungs, kidney, liver, brain, libido, or whole body, normally $26.95, now just $20. Visit herbalhealer.com and click on the Fall Winter Specials button to save on all our natural cold and flu fighting products. Also explore our Herbal Healer Academy correspondence courses that teach you how to handle your health naturally. herbalhealer.com, healing the world with nature, one person at a time, since 1988.
We're back on the Alternative Media Fair and in the studio, joined by Steve OBrien. I got an email that Texas was its own sovereign country from 1836 to 1846. So I may have got that a year off. The break just stopped you right when you started, Steve, and I'm kind of getting used to a new clock. We got a long segment here. So go ahead and just go ahead and unfold kind of what has happened, however you'd like.
Okay, fine. Well, what I was just saying was, the news is out there if you can really search for it. They've kind of tagged the Republic of Texas as a secessionist group. That's part of your inability to find news about it. All of a sudden, secession is a big keyword out there in the news media, right? But I guess I'd want to make one thing perfectly clear, that the Republic of Texas is not a secessionist group. There is a party in Texas that is for secession. It's a 501c3 called the Texas Nationals, and they work within a system, blah, blah, blah. The Republic of Texas is a governmental organization working to restore, the Republic of Texas, right, to bring it back into its own sovereignty. Now, last week, I guess this is where the story starts. Around 9 o'clock, the third hour of this show, Republic of Texas holds a monthly conference on the second Saturday of, every month. They get together and they hash out, what it's like, and this has been going on for about 10 years, this organization calling themselves the Republic of Texas, this government. Now, other groups have had that name in the past, right? There's a famous one, this guy named Richard McLaren, and that was back in 97 when they were demonizing the word militia. So Republic of Texas kind of gets classified into a secessionist group or a militia group, and both of those are not true, right? It's just a government organization working towards freedom and independence. Now, on Saturday, while we were going into the caller hour, they were setting up chairs, getting everything ready, and everybody was going in. They called everything into session. And by 10 o'clock, as this show was closing, all of a sudden, guy raises his hand, and all sorts of people start rushing in, all sorts of FBI guys with, what President Carnegie says is black jackets, which are probably just bulletproof vests, bunch of just everybody. They tell everybody, stand away from your chairs, don't touch anything, you guys go over there, and you guys stay in here. And they were serving a warrant. And they put the warrant down. They didn't want to tell everybody what was going on. And, it took a few days to actually get into the crux of what had happened because nobody knew why they were there. Now, this guy, right, I guess his name is Judge Rex Emerson. He worked for, the state of Texas, and he issued an order to foreclose on, what's her name? Susie Carmack, on her house. Now, Susie Carmack is part of the Republic of Texas. She's a sweet lady, by the way. She's a really sharp person. And, she was backed into a corner. I don't know exactly what that story is. So she sought recourse through the Republic of Texas, and she went to a judiciary, right? His name is Dave Kroupa. Now, Dave Kroupa went ahead and they put together the summons for a common law court, and I don't know all the details about that. I can probably get you somebody that can talk a little bit better about it. And they served it on him. Now, when we're dealing with this, we're not dealing with U.S. law. We're dealing with international law because the group, the government, the Republic of Texas, is not the United States. The United States, the people belonging to the United States have no, they're not inclined to go to this court. There's nothing binding. The Republic of Texas has no standing army. They have no police. They have no enforcement. It's a matter of just process. I'm not too sure what they were trying to achieve on there. I'm pretty sure that Susie was trying to keep her house, right? One of the funniest things about this whole story, maybe it's not funny, it's ironic for sure. They actually served this warrant, and the warrant was for Susie Carmack, and Dave Kroupa. Now, they are alleging that they simulated court documents in a mortgage fraud case. Now, how many times have you heard all this stuff about the mortgages and how the banks and the mortgage companies manufactured false documents? And now they're sitting there saying that Susie and Dave actually went ahead and made false legal documents or simulated legal documents. I think that's going to be interesting how they actually say that, they simulated what? well, they're operating as the Republic of Texas. And I guess you've got to say, well, what is the legitimacy of the government, the Republic of Texas? A lot of times you have to go back down into history, right, into when Texas did 10 years as a sovereign, independent country, right? It had consulates outside. It had agreements. It had treaties. It went into an agreement with the United States that isn't quite clear. You know, the whole thing is did the United States have the ability to annex a sovereign country? A lot of people point to no. That's one of the things that that McLaren dude did back in 1997. Now, that's kind of a key piece here. That's why the government came in with what? The sheriffs from Brazos and Kerr County, FBI, U.S. Marshals. Why the big show of force? Well, it goes back to this big thing on McLaren in 1997. Now, he was doing some kind of, thing, he had a truth, right, that it doesn't seem clear the path of induction of the Republic of Texas. But he was also doing some kind of a free man on the land type thing. We'll file this, do this and do that. Now McLaren's in jail, and he's going to be there for 99 years. There was a big shootout at his ranch. But at that time, there were thousands of people showing up to these meetings talking about Texas being free and independent. There was a lot of stuff going on in 97. We had the vilification, for the lack of a better term, of the word militia, right? That's just all of a sudden with Waco and, oh, God, so many different events made us. Because when I grew up, the word militia were the people that actually freed our country. And it was a good term, and I could even see myself right now running around the parking lot with the school, whatever, blacktop, pretending I was militia, going, yay, just playing as a kid. But now you say that word, and it's like poison. Secession is another word that they poison, right?
Let me make this point too, Steve. The Texas Rangers, the Department of Public Safety, the Attorney General's Office, the U.S. Marshal's Office, Kerr County Sheriff's deputies, and Brazos County Sheriff's deputies were all on the scene, and it makes me wonder if the so-called unauthorized summons was so frivolous. Why did Judge Keith Williams react so forcefully? I mean, if it has no merit whatsoever, and like you pointed out, and that's a great point, if it's just falsifying documents, this is something that the big banks they've admitted to. There's absolutely there's no accountability to the criminality that these big banks get by with, and this is just a fine example of the double standard. But also, wasn't the vehicle searched? People were fingerprinted, vehicles searched, and they actually had a warrant for DNA swabs. I mean, this is some of what I've seen in some of the different stories.
Okay, yeah, that all is correct. They ended up sequestering people in two different segments, right? The house people stayed in this one room, and they pulled all the people that weren't part of the house, which would be the governmental body. And they pulled the other ones out, and they asked them questions: give me your ID, give me your name, take your picture, take your stuff. They took cell phones, they took all the papers, they took people's checkbooks, they took every document that, they had. The strange thing is one of the guys that was there, they opened his briefcase and took his briefcase and all the stuff in it and gave him back his gun. And it's kind of like, really? In Texas, we carry guns. And, that wasn't strange for them, and it was strange for us. It's just the handling of it. But they were detained for 5 hours, until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. During that event, one of the people that were part of the Republic of Texas, his name's Bob Miller, wonderful guy, great speaker. He knows all this stuff, to the T. But he has had health issues in the past, and he actually collapsed during the event, and they had to call the ambulance in. This was a big Valentine's Day thing, so they were doing all that Valentine's Day stuff.
We're coming up on a break, Steve. We'll be back in moments. You're listening to the Alternative Media with Farron, joined by Steve OBrien.
Earthquake, terrain, mixed attacks, and all-out social collapse. With the world today more volatile than ever, the future has never looked more uncertain. Survivalist Magazine is the one resource you can't afford to be without. Claim your free trial subscription now at www.survivalist.com, and your first issue ships immediately. Get all the details and more at
You know, it's been a while since I actually listened to that. It's so long, I told you that I wasn't going to talk anymore tonight, let you hear me talk past. But the more I hear me talk, the more important things that I have to say. So I guess I'll talk a little bit during the commercial breaks and whatnot. I think it's really important that this Valentine's Day raid story gets talked about. And what's been going on with Susie Kamek is, well, systemic across the United States. We've got the statutory law problem where, well, they have all these laws, and then the laws themselves are unknowns to man. Even the best lawyers don't know all the laws because you can't know all the laws. And so when a judge comes up there, he just tries to muddle through, and you argue case precedent and quote, quote, evidence, and what can be evidence and what can't be evidence, and all that crazy crap. And they throw a lot of people through the ringer, and it's just not right. They impact a lot of lives unneedingly. You know, Jack Blood talked a little bit earlier about what? What did he talk about? He said that at a minimum, it's a waste of resources to do something like the raid. You know, I was just talking to Farron about how, well, it was kind of meaningless, and I do think that what Susie and Buck did was somewhat meaningless in itself because, well, the judge wasn't beholden to common law for the Republic of Texas, and neither was that was cited that was allegedly working for the bank that was Susie Kamek's house. You know, that happens all the time. This is the corporate United States we're talking about, and they don't play by the rules. They have a lot of rules. They decide the rules as they go along. They can spread freedom and liberty, or at least say they're spreading freedom and liberty with a gun and just go everywhere. They're not good for the American people. The best things for the American people is to wake up. I talked to Bob Wilson a week ago, I believe it was, and, you know, I gave him my theory that one of the best things that could happen to the United States was Texas leaving. That way the American people will say, hey, there is a way. There is a way. So maybe the economic collapse that's pending, that's looming over our heads, starting with Greece, is going to think around.
Feel free to do so.
There he is. That's Farron.
Oh, for sure.
There I am.
And I wanted to mention
I'm
also
gone.
that
so listen to me and Farron, I guess.
Wasn't provided to anyone associated with the Republic of Texas. Instead, the warrant was given to the post commander of the VFW facility, who was instructed not to copy it or divulge the contents to anyone. And this was open to the public event.
That's correct. All Republic of Texas meetings are open, right? That's the way government's supposed to be in a republic. You know, you can't keep people out without infringing on their rights. So everything's open. You know, the United States, it might be a little bit different. Well, actually, we know it's a little bit different. You know the thing about that warrant, right? So they said that the judge, what's his name, Emerson was subpoenaed by the judge of the Republic of Texas. He was supposed to appear today at the VFW Hall. Now, that was from what I'm told, that was the common law court, date for, dealing with this thing. But they came a week early to the congressional hearing where the Senate and the House meet, right? And everybody gets together and try to hash out how we're going to get freedom and liberty for Texas. Now, when they did that, they came through and cataloged all the people in there. They're trying to figure out, allegedly who helped Susie and Dave Kroupa simulate these court documents or legal documents. I don't know the actual verbiage, but I've talked to people that have seen that was coming after. Now, they impacted a lot of people, doing digging. They missed their date, right, because they back today. And I don't know, maybe they're continuing again somewhere else. Maybe they're not. What I do know is this is a live story. But last week's story that happened on Saturday, I get a kick out of the fact that I was sitting there listening to callers call in all day. Meanwhile, this was all playing out. As we got to the end of the show, that's when the feds popped out. That's when all the people came out. They sat there and, detained all these people the entire time. They even impacted a wedding that was going to be happening in the VFW. Now, that's kind of normal nowadays, I guess, when you have Obama sitting there closing down for, his little golf thing. They don't really care. But if they would have gotten their facts straight, they could have just, done the raid, on the time that Judge Emerson was supposed to appear. Yeah, it all sounds a little bit fishy. But I don't know where they're going. I really think that they're just overblown. But, of course, the United States doesn't want Texas to be free and independent.
Or any state. Their biggest fear is the states to wake up and free themselves of this tyrannical stranglehold that the federal government has. A state like Arizona trying to initiate legislation and that the actual constituents in that state want as far as immigration. Here comes the big bully to smack it down, and they use the federal judges, which are not elected, they're selected, and just like what's happening in Texas with regards to Obama's immigration, they have these sellout traitor federal judges sitting there ready to smack down the state at any time. And why the states even comply and go along with that? I think one, and I want to get your opinion on this, Steve, I think one of the best hopes at defeating this system is if the states would wake up, get the right people in your state legislature to enforce 10th Amendment rights and get the federal government, and even on these divisive issues like gay marriage or abortion or medical marijuana, all of those type issues, in my opinion, should be state rights. It should be up to that state, not to the federal government to dictate. What's your opinion, Steve?
Okay, yeah, I'd love it to operate like a republic, right, from the bottoms-up legislature, right? Let the counties decide what they can do and the state decide. I don't see that as a possibility. Most of the people in government today are used to the way things are going. And if you deleted the entire U.S. government and just allowed it to reform itself, it's going to form itself similarly to, what they're used to and what they know. They'll be all, well, I know how to do this. We're going to do this. The programming is really deep in our society, and that level of society, let's say the politicians and the government workers, they've been programmed very well by their external entities. Take the American Planning Association. Befriend every single, entity within the government, feeding them stories, giving them talking points, teaching them the Delphi technique. So I would love that. I just don't see that happening. I would love to return the United States to a republic. But, that's a big, lofty goal. Everybody's entrenched. Everybody wants to boss people around. Now, when I look at Texas, I do see something different. You can see secede bumper stickers cruising around Texas. I can see them all day long. Maybe I'll see one a day. I can see come and take it. That mentality is there. People in Texas identify themselves as Texans and Americans, but they have a duality, and they have standing with the Republic of Texas.
We're coming up on a break, Steve. Hold that thought. When we come back, with Ed in Kentucky wants to ask you a question. We're taking phone calls, 1-800-313-9443. Stay with us.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Yeah, you should go to republicbroadcasting.org. That's a great website. You know, that's a great radio network. That's John Stadtmiller's thing. And I know I talk a lot about other broadcasters. Last week we kind of focused a little bit on Raging Elephant Radio, and you go RagingElephantRadio.com, and, you know, they're great. They focus on Texas. They focus on, they focus on stories, and I don't want to deviate from republicbroadcasting.org and Farron Shope's show, right? You know, 'cause he gives you the real news. Go there on Saturday morning, 7 o'clock a.m., Texas, and you can listen to the alternative media with, and wow, you'll get the news. You'll get the real news. But if you want Texas-related information, I'd say the kingpin out there, the one that holds the game, is Raging Elephant Radio. Now, they're only on the Internet, as far as I know, but I need to know a little bit more about Raging Elephant Radio in the future, because all stories on Raging Elephant Radio begin and end in Texas. They don't talk about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP, unless they can find an angle where it begins and ends in Texas. So, in one way, that's the kind of media that I want to hear about at this day and this state of the game. But we have great allies in Republican and a variety of other sources out there. You know, we're broadcasting to you off We Resistors Radio Network is one of our primary sources. And that's funded by, Chuck Smith, from the leader of We Resistors Radio Network. I believe we're the only show on the network at the time, because Chuck Smith is taking a hiatus, and he's not really actively promoting or working the whole thing. We've had people on every night of the week in the whole run of We Resistors Radio Network. We reach a lot of people. Thing is that you talk to people, you tell them, look, we need to be free. We need to be free. I better check the dial and see where we are.
As well as this product has promised to. I've taken, supplements and that sort of thing.
There you go. More commercials. That's one thing we don't have here on We Resistors Radio Network. I don't have a lot of sponsors. I guess I'm my only sponsor right now. I haven't spent a lot of time trying to get sponsors. Wary of sponsors, because a lot of times sponsors want to control the message. They want to tell you what you should talk about. That's one of the problems that the corporate media actually has. They will sit there and take stuff, take money from corporate sponsors for pharmaceuticals, and they don't like it when you talk bad about their pharmaceuticals. They don't like it when you talk bad about this, and they don't like it when you talk bad about that. So they control you. They harness you. So, at least for the moment, We Resistors and me personally, and, RTRadio.org, the Republic of Texas, no sponsors. Don't really... I don't really want other people trying to change the message. I like the people that actually support what's going on and what we're doing. We're all about bringing the government back, restoring a republic. There's no republic like an old United States republic or the Republic of Texas. Those don't exist in this world anymore. If I'm wrong, please, let me know. FBGlive@gmail.com is my email address, or you can give me a call. Like I say, I don't have a problem talking to you. 830-998-4381. I'll talk to you about whatever you want. Let's get back to the
studio. I'm a conspiracy factualist, and everyone else is a reality theorist. I'm joined by Steve OBrien. FBGlive.com is his website, and we're taking phone calls. We're going to go to Ed in Kentucky. Then we got Mike in South Carolina, Lauren in Ohio. She didn't really get to finish last week. Be interesting to see what she says. Ed in Kentucky, thanks for holding. What's your question, sir?
How you doing, Frank? Great show. How you doing, Mr. Steve?
I'm doing good.
You know what? I've been to Texas a couple of times when I was in the military. Love the state. And and a friend of mine told me this. He goes, if you want to remember what a republic and true freedom is, go to Texas. Right. And I spent a couple weekends and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And it was weird when you said they took the guy's briefcase, handed his loaded weapon, yet took the briefcase.
That's correct.
And they told the commander of the VFW not to say anything about the warrant. He couldn't copy it or anything else. Well, those two statements right there, sir, is going to be a very, very, very hard pill for them to swallow in a court of law. Because a true judge is going to look at those police officers and everybody involved and say, wait, you took this guy's briefcase, but handed back his loaded weapon, and you violated a constitutional right, which means technically an officer who serves a warrant should not, and this is the law, you can sit there and read the whole warrant and ask questions before they can do anything. That's the law.
Yeah.
And that's even at a police department. A federal officer goes to a police department and serves a warrant. That commander says, you wait right here until I read it. That means that those officers have to stay there and cannot move and do nothing. That even goes to anybody who gets served a warrant. You can halt them right there and say, excuse me, I'm calling my lawyer and I'm reading this warrant. And technically, under the law, they have to stop until that warrant is read, questions are asked and explained. Then, technically, by law, people of that occupant, whether it's a home, a business, or whatever, has the right to have representatives there to watch these officers.
Well, can you imagine with the Texas Rangers, Department of Public Safety, the Attorney General's office, the U.S. Marshal's office, and 2 Sheriff's Department? I mean, they called in everybody except Blackwater and the National Guard to do this. Can you imagine the chaos of all these different police jurisdictions trying to work together to pull this? It's like the biggest thing since Waco.
Well, the sad thing about it, this is what you're seeing here with my father in World War II. He fought in World War II and saw pictures and everything else. Says we are now seeing what they went through in World War II in Germany and throughout Europe.
It's coming. It's coming. This is the tip of the. We're seeing it more, and this is not an isolated story. We're just seeing it more and more. Let me give you the last word, Ed. We got phone calls stacking up, and we only got about 20 minutes. And I really appreciate you holding. Anything else you'd like to add?
Hey, I'm praying for you. Yahweh bless you. Keep up the good work. And I gave a $50 donation.
Hey, thank you so much. And let me say that the call-in number 1-800-724-2719. Support Republic Broadcasting. We're going to go to Mike in South Carolina, then Lauren in Ohio, Chris in Las Vegas. Mike, how you doing, sir? No Mike? No Mike? Okay, let's go to Mike back. What are you doing? I wanted to get your opinion. You didn't get to really speak last week. You got cut off at the end of the show. Tell us your opinion on this.
Well, what I'm thinking is, because you're talking 10th Amendment, and I'm talking 9th Amendment, we've got to remember who and what we are. We are the free kings. There are 2 governments running here. One is the administrative corporations. One is the republic. So we don't want to start over. We just want to go back to the republic as it stood, and we can do that, but we must be educated. I keep calling in with the same solution. Obey God, keep your money in your pocket, keep your children in your home, and boycott big business. The U.S. corporation is the biggest business in the world. How did we get so dumb that they can do all this? Like the man that called about reading the warrant, he's correct. And these people do follow their administrative rules, codes, regulations, and statutes. I know it because they've come after me all kinds of different ways. People reported me. The CPS is out here talking about, you're talking bad about vaccines, you're talking bad about the government, you're neglecting your children's education. In the end, I told them, my children aren't wards of the state. I'm not a resident. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm not a minor government official in any capacity. I am a non-citizen national. This is a legal status, it's legal, not lawful. God makes laws, men make rules, code, regulations, things legal or not. But even within the confines of the corporate government, the legal status of non-citizen national is recorded in the U.S. passport application. That is a king that stands above the government. I don't have civil rights. I have God-given rights protected by the Constitution, as opposed to civil rights, which are rights given by men that can be arbitrarily changed. So I would just encourage people to have hope and faith in the truth, but you've got to be willing to take that step out there. You cannot expect even in bureaucracy, they're attacking these people's families. They kill your kids. They blow up your planes. You're thinking a couple of men are going to save you. That's not what's going to save you. Come out of her, my people. Come out of the lie. Just laugh at these people. Tell them to get in their place. They're dog catchers. They're maids. They're butlers. The Constitution is a body of negative law set to limit the maids and the butlers from abusing the free kings. And we've got to walk and stand in that capacity as opposed to what we're doing now. And I forgot to tell you last week, I don't know if you had a chance to go on the website, stopthecrime. But there's a book by Judge Dale. And in the book, I think it's the Sovereign Man section, and they tell you exactly how to hold these bureaucrats liable. And they do obey.
I'll get an email, I should have asked you this question, then we'll let Steve chime in. How do you get a job and get around the Social Security number, and how do you own property and get around the property tax?
It's so funny because in the passport application, people say, oh, you have to have a Social Security number. It says on the back page, if you don't have a Social Security number, enter all zeros. You have diplomatic immunity. You are a child of the living God, a citizen of his heavenly kingdom. That's a different status. It's like the Border Patrol. Why did they just give a directive to the Border Patrol not to bother arresting drunk, illegal alien drivers? The reason is because they don't have the jurisdiction. They can't make any money off of them. So they don't want them clogging the courts. They have no jurisdiction. And that's why they're giving the ones they're bringing in, here's the driver license. Because that is their corporate connection. A corporation cannot do business with anything other than a corporation. Now, when you fill out your passport application, I told you to go to apassport4ed.com, I think it is. It's Roger Sales' site. When you get that DS-11, fill out the DS-11, which is the passport application, you are now like a king. You can open a passport. You can, you can do anything. You can do everything that you do. You can travel in your private conveyance. You can travel in your car. You can do anything. You're not limited. It's just that when they pull you over, now they look at you as like they look at a diplomat from another country. They just don't have the jurisdiction, and they don't bother to try. You're no longer a milk cow.
Let Steve chime in on that, and I'll be the first to admit I find all that fascinating. I'm not that well versed, so I can't agree or disagree. And one thing, and we'll turn it back to Lauren before we go to Chris in Las Vegas. I'd like to know from Lauren, once you get a Social Security number, which most people get at birth now, how do you go about getting rid of that? But Steve, any comments you'd like to make? You may be more versed in that than I am.
Well, I'd like to hear her statement on the Social Security number and how to reverse that too. So I'm looking forward to her talking again. What I'd like to say about them serving the warrant, let's just address that first, is, well, here's the question. Well, I guess I agree with you on one point that most of the times they do follow their procedures. Sometimes they don't, but don't worry about that. But maybe they did. Maybe they went over there and they only had to talk to the chief guy at the VFW thing, right? And so the base commander or the commander guy. And so they walked into his office and said, we're going to be serving a warrant on these guys that are renting your space. And they read it and they did their procedure stuff. Then they sat through the meeting. They told him, hush, hush, don't talk about this to nobody. And that was said. Then they went ahead and they enacted their raid at 10 o'clock last week. And they put the warrant down and they let anybody that could, walk over and read it or something like that, but they sequestered people in different areas. So maybe they operated technically within their parameters, right? I wouldn't know. I don't know that legal system stuff. But one thing, Lauren, God, thank you so much. by being a broken record and repeating the same thing over and over and over again, you establish a precedent, you raise consciousness and awareness. And I think that is probably one of the things that, gives me hope in, our society in general, because we need to change the hearts and the minds, right? I hate that term now, but it's true. That's the thing that we can look to change is ourselves, our friends, our neighbors.
Lauren, the Social Security, we'll give you the last word, then we'll get Chris in Las Vegas, Mike in South Carolina, maybe call. But go ahead and address that, Lauren.
Okay, and I tried to leave my number for you last week, and I know you don't like to talk to people on the phone, but I am a Luddite. I don't do the computer, but I can give you all this stuff. I can give you proof and documentation. I've got the letters from the social services and from the power company. They were going to turn off my power. Nope. 3 pages letters, and I'll tell you, I can give you all this evidence. My kids have a trust. They tried to say, well, they're U.S. citizens because you and your husband were both born in the United States and you're U.S. citizens. And I said, no, that's not the case, and gave them the IRS tax forms, the W-8, and here's the deal with Social Security. That card is not your number for you. That is their number to track you. If you look on the back of the card, I have the card that I got when I was 15 because my mother told me to get it because I wanted to work at Burger King. And so I got the card. But the point is, there's no contract that's a legit contract if the terms of the contract are not disclosed. Fraud negates consent is the first point. The second point is the Social Security number is their number to track you. It's not yours. If they want, like I still have one, and I do my DS-11 because I haven't done it yet. I'm getting to do it for me and my kids. When I do it, I will put that number because they will take that number and the State Department will then de-link me. They will literally take me off the list of collateral for the corporate debt. They will take me off of the list for food as a prey animal because that's basically what you're listed on there for. So that's the pertinent, relevant part about that. But the gist of it is that if we understood that God made the men made a club, the club made rules, codes, regulations, and statutes to manage the maids and the butlers of the club. Now they take your children, they've got them in school, they teach them lies, and then you act on the lies that you were taught. No Jesus in the school. Every other faith can be there, but no Jesus. There's a reason for that, because he is the way, the truth, and the life. There is no other way, and that's how this country was originally established. So what I'm saying is we take it all back, but we've got to be willing to bow the knee to the truth. And I know that's a hard thing. I heard John yesterday talking on his show, and, I mean, he gets really hot and mad about the God thing because he's like, well, I don't know for sure. You don't have to know for sure. What you know is, did another man create you? Because the one that creates is the one that controls. And the reason that they hold still when you tell them, hey, I have a right to read this contract, this warrant, because it's a business, and you do have a right to read it. And that's the point. So we have power. I'd like to talk to you if you have just a few minutes. I can do this fairly concisely, but I don't have the computer access, and if you let me leave my number, I would go over. Do that for me, Lauren. Leave it with the board up. I don't think I got it last week, but I maybe didn't stay on long enough with him. Well, no, he didn't take it because he said that's not something you do, and I don't want to kind of exceed my bounds. Leave it with him, and I will. It won't be right after the broadcast though, because I've got something going on. But hey, for you. Thank you so much for the phone call. God bless you. Have hope. The passion is. Everybody has to just feel the passion. Okay, we're going to go to Chris in Las Vegas. Chris, thank you for holding on, sir.
Thank you, Farrell and Steve. God bless Texas and Lauren.
Thank you.
Well, absolutely. I'm right on line with Lauren. I do have a computer, and I can also provide actual law, facts, and documentation to you. There are many of us out here, like Steve, who are researching this history of this country that are finding it's not as we think it should be, was, is, and will be again, hopefully. Steve, I know that Texas retained, it was the only state that had the wisdom, the only Union State United that had the wisdom to retain their rights of succession or rescission, we might say, to revert back to the Republic of Texas, or Tejas, if you like that better. And that's a really powerful position. That's why you're such an attack by this administration. Lauren's observations about the DS-11. There's only 2 checkboxes on that form. One is for a U.S. citizen, the other is for a U.S. national. And she's right, that's the old non-resident alien, Union State, American national. And those persons are enjoying their rights the Creator provided us, not those of the subject slave citizens provided for by the 14th Amendment. And I, the two, would love to share with you and Steve. I know that there's a high-level meetings going on in Texas with some of the movers and shakers there. We had some discussions out on the call that I was on last night. But if Steve will leave his contact information, or you, Farron, or I certainly will leave my number with the board operator or email, and I will provide whatever information I can to assist you guys, and I really appreciate what Texas is doing. I love that Texas judge making that ruling on the immigration thing and stopping the Obama administration's criminal assault on America, and thank you so very, very much.
Well, hey, thanks for your phone call. You can go to my website, thealternativemedia.com. You can email me from there. Also, Steve, I'm sure you can be contacted through fbglive.com.
Yeah, but I'll do you one better. If you got a pen handy, I don't mind talking on the phone. And if you want to talk to me about Republic of Texas stuff, I have no qualms about giving out my phone number. Now, understand, I work too, right? So it might go to voicemail. But my phone number, here it is, 830-998-4381. Once again, 830-998-4381. I don't really do email too much. I prefer voice communication, but you probably could get my contact info off fdglive.com. But there it is.
We're coming up on a break. Stay with me, Steve. We'll wrap it up on the other side. You're listening to The Alternative Media with Farron, joined by Steve OBrien. Back in a moment.
Well, it was actually a show that Farron Shope did over at Republic Broadcasting. Still hear him on Saturday morning, 7 o'clock a.m. Texas time. It's a really good show, and as you can tell, the callers over there pay attention, and they understand the difference between, statutory law and common law. And there's there's a lot of confusion in there, and a lot of people that know common law will say that nobody knows real common law and this and that, and, nobody knows statutory law either. It was really important to talk about, the Valentine's Day raid of 2015. That happened on, I believe it was February 21st. Maybe it was a week earlier, so that would put us at brain fart. That would be the 16th. It was a Saturday morning, and now we're feeling the repercussions of that. And there's some new international stuff. We didn't get into the callers. I'm sorry. I'm out of time this week. That to be the Texas stance that they could actually get anything out of the international community. That argument, I guess I can side with people that say going to the international court. Hey, man, it's the globalists that are doing things. I get that, too. But is it important to do something? Yes. In the international venue, I've been wrong before, and I'm willing to go down that route. I'm just here trying to tell Texans to man up, dude. Man up. Free yourself, free your family, free everybody. Because somebody's got to do it. Can you? Because I'm trying. Try. Do something. Take care, man. Love you. Good night. No. Damn knobs.